God, these pretzels suck. How's your day been, buddy?
Just all right. Is everything connected? There we go. Oh, they are. Hi, friends. There we go. Uh-oh. Something's locked up here. What's going on with the camera? Where is... Hold on. How is Monsieur Frog? I am fantastic. There we go. Go with the old failsafe and turn it off and turn it back on again. Hi, everyone. Helium, thank you for resubscribing 23 months in a row. Almost 2 years. That's nuts. I'm good. We're going to do the share stream, so if anybody has anything they want to put in Discord, ! Discord. I'll make sure my audio is good. It looks like it is. Should be picking up just right. And Professor Grimm. How's it going, Fran? I can't do it yet. Your favorite streamer? Well, thank you. Going good. Do you want Professor Grimm? Let me look in Discord real quick and see what's in the share channel. There's a link that you shared to me. Still blaming you. That's fine. Somebody's got to blame me for something. 6 new messages. Okay, so we got plenty of new stuff. Let's see. I'm trying to think, when was the last time? What was the last thing we shared?
Last Sunday was the 19th.
Last Sunday was the 19th. Okay, so that was the 19th. There we go. Okay, so we'll be starting out there. That's cool. Also, we've got Waste Control here in the lab today. He's here again. What are we blaming Frog for besides hiding all of Creature's glitter bombs after their cage exploded? You did. You did.
Hi, Helium. Hello. Hey, girl.
Oh, hey, girl. Yeah, everybody can hear. It should be good. Audio should be picking up pretty good. I'm hitting...
I'm also projecting this time, so that probably helps.
Yeah.
Thank you. Almost. Not yet. I'm just back in town permanently now.
God.
But, oh, God. We have to wait on the papers to be finalized. You know, that whole chestnut.
That whole D's nuts. Creature for Frog letting me buy more minis. I know. I did. I was like, you need to spend everything you have on miniatures. Because why wouldn't you? Life's too short to hang on to it. You can't take it with you, buddy. Legalities and whatnot. Yeah, so forth and so on. But yeah, we're going to do the share stream. I haven't, do the share stream and some Necromunda lore. Didn't you get ungrounded? You were fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. It's no, she's talking about Professor Grimm. There it is.
Let's start it off
I just love the fact that it's just the little tiny, just a 10-second blurb.
Uh-huh.
It's not even a full song. It's just a blurb. Doesn't have to be too much. Let me pull that back just a tad bit. I think I got it a little too high. There we go. So I've been doing a little bit of work. The camera's autofocusing. I'm not going to be using it much tonight.
1, 2, Freddy's coming for you.
Oh, goodness. Let's turn off the autofocus. I'm fine with everything else being the way it is. Autofocus.
Sounds like you should have done stuff before stream.
Hey,
Like a
hey.
good streamer.
We all know that I'm not pro streaming strats.
Come on, man.
I mean, I haven't even started to fuck with trying to put my gloves on for 5 minutes.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I wasn't planning on really showing anything off, but I'm really happy with the freehand work I did on this, so I'm gonna show that real quick. And of course, because I'm not using the app for the camera, it resets itself now. So I got to go back in and reset everything. Stupid, because technology.
Because technology, everybody.
Technology. Yeah, you can't. Oh, there it is. There you are, you fuck. It doesn't help any that it's all white.
Sir.
Let's see. Separation. Much like this house.
It's a blizzard in this house.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you won't be able to see it. All right, we won't fuck with it. I'll get it sorted another day, and we're just gonna go back to default because everything got fucked up. All right, there we go. Anyway, we're gonna flip on over to the Discord. Hey Frog Boy best friend, fun news. Today is 1 year anniversary of dating my husband. Aren't you proud of me? I am. I saw that. I saw the pictures earlier. It's adorable. But in seriousness, 5 older Horde minis for $15, and tax shipping made them $22. I couldn't pass it up last night. Sure, why not?
Hey, you don't have to explain addiction to us. We fully support it here.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Put the dick in addiction. There you go.
I'm gonna stick my penis in this habit.
That's right. Oh god, that's Spike.
Now I'm thinking nuns.
Addiction to back in the habit. Got it. All right. Yes, it's madness. It's absolute madness. I'm gonna open that up in browser. So we got all those things to.
Nah, you'll be fine.
Yeah, it's good.
You good?
There we go. I don't think I've ever seen that model before. Sorrel Harbor, he's one of the other viewers from across the pond who is big into Necromunda as well. I don't know what model this is. I wish he was here. And if he does show up, I'll have to go back to this and ask him, because I've never seen that Escher model before. That's pretty badass. It might be a 3D print.
I do love that it has the definitive female armor on it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She.
Yeah, she.
And they're not, I like the fact that they're not like overly exaggerated. You know,
they're not.
I mean,
front weights.
yes, exactly. It shouldn't look like she's carrying 2 fucking melta bombs on her chest or anything. Yeah, there's some 40K comedy for you right there. But yeah, I got the like 90s holding your gun to the side. Ah, tits. Yeah, I'm always happy when people have models that aren't like the typical big-breasted, you know, ridiculous over the
You
top.
can just say fan service models. It's
Yeah.
the same, yeah.
Yeah.
You're on the same page.
Absolutely no intention of buying them until the owner sent me a thing saying, "Hi, I'll take a bit off, flipping 50%." Fair enough. Okay. Good lord, why did that? Okay, there we go. Got an Escher little sister with a wild bow. Literally like the second worst weapon in all of Necromunda. And I think it's the only thing they can actually take.
I don't think her arm's supposed to be that far over there.
She's
Something seems to
She's
have
really
happened.
pulling back.
Yeah.
It's like one of those old Japanese archers where they like drew it back with their whole body.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is. I always feel weird with the large chested models. Like I get that some women are like that. I always put them in the tiniest clothing. It is uncomfy sometimes. Yeah, I mean, I like the fact you see it a lot more in like independent creators. Like I got Feathers that I'm always promoting his 3D prints. Where they're really tall and slender. They don't have much of a figure to them. I like a variety of different sizes. Like this one is a little more feminine than the last one is. But yeah, they don't all have to be these like big-breasted anime women, and I like that. And that's what I like about the Escher gang itself, is that they're all pretty different from each other. Because then this one looks like it is the more of an anime girl build. Okay, so I guess that is the first one was a standard Escher model, because it's got the whole holding the gun sideways like it's the 90s. Like you're gonna put on a big old zoot suit and go watch Squirrel Nut Zippers or something, you know?
Jesus Christ.
Holding your gun sideways,
Yeah, that's it. The ska culture holding their guns sideways. Yeah, that's the ones you expect to
Well,
do it.
holding your gun sideways was real big in the 90s, you know?
Well, yes, but
You weren't anybody if you weren't holding your gun
gun.
sideways or listening to the Squirrel Nut Zipper. That's like the defining features
Yep.
of the 90s.
You're 100% correct.
I'm a historian.
I didn't either.
You go to a Coca Cabana club and get you a big drink with in a pineapple,
And hold your gun
and then you
sideways
hold your gun sideways
in your zoot suit.
in your zoot suit. That's right. And you listen to Squirrel Nut Zippers. Here's a picture of our dog out in the snow after the snowstorm we had the other day. She was not having it. She walked out. She went to the bathroom as quick as she could. Oh, that poor cold pupper. Yeah. She was like, nah, no thanks. Frankenstein, the Mad Doc, destroyer of sad times with his magical brush. Oh God, sorry. Saw that Mario red.
I'm overly excited.
I am overly excited. This is the best.
Frankenstein, the Mad Doc, destroyer of sad times with his magical brush.
Thank you, Eichelhoof. 26 months in a row. Jesus. Well, actually, wow, over 2 years.
That is how that math shakes.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize that it had actually been streaming that long. Like,
I mean, you've probably been streaming longer than 26. First subscribed the first month you were
oh yeah,
streaming?
as soon as I
then-
made affiliate,
Oh.
Eichelhoof, I think Eichelhoof might have been the first subscriber, actually.
All right, well.
She was like, what the fuck is this shit? Yeah, pretty much.
Don't know.
I know it's from a musical.
Sure.
Oh, it's The Waitress.
Oh, okay.
A big ol' hug and kiss for
Zophiana,
Open up now.
thank you for the follow.
That's it.
Oh, you know what?
What?
Shout outs. Giving out fucking shout out.
Oh. Who am I shouting out?
Well, we do need to do Professor Grimm,
Okay, hang on.
for sure.
Okay.
And I think Zophiana, howdy. Zophiana is another Necromunda player, Necromunda fan over. There we go.
Increase
Thank you,
my
sir.
attack, or my...
Oh, I guess that's all the clip it's going to play. Fair enough. Zophiana, do you stream as well? I know you're another Necromunda fan. Yes. Yeah. We're doing the share stream, exclamation point Discord. You can hop on in that Discord and share anything that you are working on that you are proud of, from your pets to miniatures to, okay, you do not stream. Okay. Oop, there we go. There you go. But anything, it doesn't matter if it is a miniature, if it's tattoos that you've gotten, pictures of your pets, anything in general, you put it up in the Discord, and we're going to sit here and just tell you how awesome you are. It's a different clip this time, so that's nice. Yeah. So I don't know why it doesn't play the newer stuff. It did recently. I think it did on the last share stream that we did. It played one of your newer clips. Oh, and Necromunda chat, we got.
Necromunda.
Necromunda. Yeah, we'll come back to that. Can't go down that Necromunda hole just yet. Goodness. Okay. Oh yes. Let's pause this so you guys can see what I got to sit here and laugh at. We got to take the day off of work because the roads were too dangerous to drive. Everything was iced over. There's the full screen. There we go. Yes. Audio. There we go. Hard to tell, but truck right here on a slope driveway, and he is just back and forth up and down the driveway. He kept sliding back down and then punching it and not getting over the hump at the end of the driveway, and he couldn't get out. For like 5 straight minutes, I watched this jackass just keep trying to back out of his driveway.
I'll share a story from when it was icing around Atlanta. So my neighborhood was on a hill. It was a pretty steep hill. This dude in this white lifted truck was just doing the same thing. He was revving his engines, trying to get traction, would go a little bit, and then just, you could watch his back wheels just spin and spin and spin as he's trying to go up this hill and get about 4 feet, and then you just watch him just slide on back.
Jesus.
And then would stop and try to do it again. And I'm
Yeah.
like, brother, you ain't going nowhere. Like, it's a thick layer of ice.
Yep. Yeah, that was everybody I saw. Where do we live? A state of bliss. That's right. Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, we are in a state of denial. Yeah, that too. A little bit of blissful denial, blissful ignorance, I would say. Yeah, Waste Control and I both live down here in
Good old
Georgia. That's right. So
No.
don't get a lot of snow in Georgia. About once a decade would be accurate. I think the last time was
No, because T was 1 the last time it snowed
but it wasn't.
around Atlanta.
Yeah, you got it. We did not.
Yeah, so it snows, I would say average lately is like once every 5 years.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Zophiana, that is cool. We will get to that. Yeah, Waste Control, actually, Icklehoof. Waste Control has moved back in town. My best friend is right here next to me.
Hello.
We are thigh to thigh in the lab.
Thigh to thigh and cheek to
Yeah.
cheek.
That's right. Hole to hole to hole, because there's 3. How old is T now?
T turned 4 today.
Sand or cat litter when there's ice on the roads. Yeah, I know. Everybody insists, oh, let's put some snow, let's put some salt down. That didn't do a fucking thing. Put something that you can get some grip on that's not going to melt.
That's how I date.
Yeah, let's put some grip on it so it doesn't melt. There's we got MD, that's me, sharing a picture she drew of Spider-Man. Of that Spooter. Look at that Spooter, man. I love it though. Happy birthday, T. All it can work if it's light ice. Yeah, but it came down for a good.
Yeah, it iced over for like a good hour and then it hard froze.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the salt did nothing.
Yeah, so I didn't do shit but stain the side of my car. There's MD, that's me's. All done in, is it crayon or is it colored pencil? She's not-
that's
she's not here,
crayon,
But
that's got to be crayon.
yeah, that's still really good though. I like that. It was too cold for it, I think. Why would you salt your car?
For flavor.
Yeah, exactly. We don't like too many spices around here, so we just stick with salt.
Damn it.
Too white for anything worse than that. Or better, I guess. Oh, who shared this? This is a beautiful little
I think
sunset.
Another
Oh, it's
one.
MD. Yeah. Okay.
It's just the salt from the road, creature. It's not actually salt
Yeah.
on the car.
Yeah. Yeah, we salted it to make it rust. I wanted realistic rust effects on the side of my car, so we salted it.
Stupid.
You said the salt stained your car. Well, that's because it splashed up. As the snow and everything melted, that salt is still all over the ground.
Yeah.
Because it can't disperse enough. So it ends up, you get white staining all over the side of your car. We don't have to salt our place. Very well salty enough for being a Coast Guard. Its presence just melts the ice. And maybe that needs so hot. Welcome to the state of confusion. I thought you put it in your car. Yes.
I gotta protect the car by making
right.
it, turning it into a really like just Swiss cheese.
Yeah. I put salt on my car to like preserve it like a salted meat.
You gotta crack through the ice and the salt layer.
That's right.
Very good.
Yep, it's finished.
Eh?
Did you share a picture of a miniature?
I think it's further down.
Oh, it probably is further down. I mean, most people would not think that he was hot, but they would be wrong. I mean, I think everybody's hot. Yep, and it's finished. It was 20-ish hours of work on it. Oh, these are the little mushroom men that Professor Grimm's been working on over on his stream. If you hadn't seen him. I've been in there. I haven't been chatting. The past couple of days, I haven't really felt like engaging with chat too much in people's streams. So I've just kind of been like popping in and just lurking and watching. Grim, these are looking hilarious, by the way.
I
Fucking-
love those.
yeah,
Those are so good.
the like goofy little face on him, and the lines.
He looks
up.
just slightly perplexed and a little just confused and disassociated on why he's where he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. How have we come to this
Yeah.
place?
Where have I? How did I get here? This isn't my beautiful wife.
That's right. Where is that large automobile?
Yeah. Letting the days go by.
That'll come on eventually, I'm sure. Sometimes you just need to chill and craft or sit along. Yeah, and it's just been kind of like I've been testing out some color schemes and stuff for different Necromunda miniatures. I had a whole bunch of paints that I've never used before, and it was like, let's test them out. I need blue and stuff like that, so he's flummoxed. Of course, I have to pick on everyone. All the love and ooh-woos, of course, absolutely.
That guy's just happy to be there.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. He's not going to be brought down. It doesn't matter.
Nope.
It doesn't
No.
matter what happens.
He's
Like,
definitely getting high on his own supply, and he is
Yeah.
going to have a good time regardless.
Yeah. Either that or he farted. Oh, he's
Or
flummoxed.
both.
And the crossbowman is just smug. Yeah, he looks to me like he's just happy.
Yeah,
It doesn't
he's
doesn't
hanging
matter
out.
what's going on. TV, the official bearded dragon.
Oh, that's a cute castle.
Right?
Did you automate the drawbridge for him, or is it just you still have to do it by hand?
That would be pretty badass. Like motion activated
Oh my
drawbridge. Yeah. Oh, look at CV just loving it.
Creature, CV needs a crown.
Oh God, can you get it? Make a crown, like even just out of paper, and put it on his head and get a picture.
Absolutely.
That'd be awesome. Beardies are the best. They are pretty fucking cool. I'm not gonna lie to you.
We need to make him some kind of throne.
Who would 3D print a pair of dragon wings, and you make a little harness for it to wrap around him and put it on him? He's the dragon of the castle now, obviously.
Well,
Look at
yeah.
that. Too fucking cute, man. TV, the bearded dragon is officially the dragon of the castle. More updates. Castle to come as it does. Oh, I need to get him one for his birthday now.
Yeah, absolutely.
A plastic gold crown. Thinking of this mini next. Yeah, that's right. You were talking about this one. I checked this one out on my mini factory. How freaking cute. And it all prints as one piece apparently. Like
What?
yeah, now not the stuff in the background.
Oh
but
yeah. Thank
yeah.
you. I appreciate
It just-
the
they-
clarification.
They somehow mastered floating prints now in 3D printing technology. Somehow. Magic possibly. But yeah, like the actual base and the unicorn, the crown,
It's
the
just
cloud.
one piece.
It's all
Huh.
one, and it apparently said it doesn't need supports. It's actually set for filament printers.
Huh.
So, no basic. Oh, they did. Okay. That's what I was reading. It was saying it was all printed in one piece. Maybe it was referring to like the unicorn or something like that. I did look up the files though, because it said it was optimized for filament printing. So, you know, I got a badass filament printer now.
Oh.
Well, for these, is this what Professor Grimm sent to you? Oh shit! You did not do some blacklight paint on the inside there?
No,
That's
your
what I'm
eyes
talking
are
about.
playing tricks on you.
It could be a trick of the light. But yeah,
Yeah, that purple
Fucking A.
cast shadow on the bottom of that doesn't bring
doesn't.
black light. No,
It doesn't.
uh-uh.
Oh, you got the files. Okay, cool. Load, because apparently we're gone back to the dial-up age. All right, we're just gonna give up on that. Took too long. We'll just look at it here. That's fine. I wish Discord would let you zoom in on stuff without having to open it up in a fucking browser, you know? That is nice though, Icklehoof. I like that. Good choice, Grim. Good call on that one. Did you get did Mungo print that, or is that a like a Reaper miniature? Yeah, fuck yeah. Use it to tell a story. A fairy circle and pond with it jumping over figured. Where the unicorn touched the mana stone, magic would be climbing up.
Okay.
Makes sense. What do you call him? Ooh, excuse me. What do you call a magician that's lost his magic? Oh, Lord.
Unemployed.
You didn't know there was a Discord? Yeah, negative charisma. There is a Discord. Yeah, Ian. That makes sense. There's a moment ago I recognized the address immediately. There you go, negative charisma.
Of course, Helium would know that.
Yeah,
terrible pun.
yeah. Helium has a father spirit because she's got all the bad dad jokes too.
She does.
Yeah. She got a dad as her spirit animal, I think.
Everyone's dad is my Patronus.
That's right, exactly. She does. She's like expecto patronum, and just like a whole bunch of middle-aged men come out and they're like, "You've been touching the damn thermostat? You damn dementors, get off my lawn. Not paying to air condition in the woods." Oh Lord.
Four of them just stand around disappointed, shaking
Yeah.
their heads, not saying anything. Oh. Stupid.
Mungo printed 150% the original size. Damn. That was small then. Woo. What size base is that? Let's see.
Look,
Blacklight.
keep going.
Bam. What?
Keep going.
But yeah, hold on, I'm trying to catch up. But yeah, I want to start incorporating fluoros into everything and make it my style now. Hell yeah. Absolutely. I was asking you a dad joke. I love dad jokes. Jokes are the best. I yell at Creamy Boy for touching the thermostat.
Helium is a
50 or a 60-year-old father who's
Yeah.
just given up
Yeah.
at this point.
75 millimeter base. Fuck me, that's huge. That thing is enormous. What is I don't say? I think my base.
Scale.
Yeah, mine only goes up to a 40 on here. Jesus, that's a 50. So a 70. Ooh.
20 millimeters bigger.
Yeah, I mean it's.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a plank.
Yeah, it is an absolute fucking plank.
What a you.
You absolute unit. Speaking of absolute unit,
Goodness.
this is blah, 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 let me find the name. Hold on.
You can do it.
Zofina.
Got
There
it.
we go. Zofiana. Son of a bitch. Apparently,
No,
yeah.
it's going. It's just we're just dialing up. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the perfect size.
That's that. No one ever says that.
It was the perfect size. I don't mean it. I'm a dad in a tiny female body. It's my Scooby-Doo disguise. Well,
What a terrible reveal.
Yeah.
You unzip the costume from the dad, and it's helium just.
it's the other.
giving
It's
two
the other
thumbs
way.
up?
It's the other way around.
Oh, that's right.
It's the
You
other way
unzip
around.
helium,
Yeah.
and she's a dad.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Let's find out who you really are, Helium. Zip. Old man Carruthers. Old man Jenkins. Knew it.
Oh.
And she would have gotten away with it too if it hadn't been for you and your lab rats. Who can't paint
Nope.
small models, so ask Mungo to increase
Nope,
the size.
It's
Yeah.
stroked out.
Just too much stuff running,
That's fair.
unfortunately. And that's why
Oh, hang on, I'll do it.
we've got the Ko-Fi.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Hang on.
Yeah, I know Ickelhoof does have a hard time. There we go. Apparently it's just going to do it multiple times.
Well,
Thanks,
I think
Cosmo.
I think it automatically did it the same
Right,
time I
same
typed it
time,
in.
yeah. Yeah, it is set up to do it like every half an hour or so. But yeah, that's the link to the coffee. You can feel free to go over there and donate if you want to, but it's never mandatory. Chuck in a buck or an amount you wouldn't miss. It's all going to helping me buy a new computer. We're going to be working on that so that we can improve the streams. Because as you see, I've got a bunch of stuff open on my PC. It's like, oh, for the love of God, why? Why?
Why, God? Why?
My legs! All right, let's see. Close that down. Let's see if that'll work. No, the ripped pants episode.
Yeah. Why, God? Why?
Come on, guys. We're almost there. Help a frog out. Getting close. Very, very close. Like 90%. 96%, I think. Almost there.
Something like that.
Yeah. I'll toss a little bit. Oh, there we go. Now it's loading up. OBS is a resource hog. Streamlabs was worse. Streamlabs crashed my fucking PC. It's Discord is an absolute resource hog. I'll tell you that much. Especially when you're on like a crap load of Discords. There we go. Oh, Zophiana, this is the rat ogre you were talking about last night. Ooh. Yeah, the new follower Zophiana is building a Caldor gang, but it's all rats. PC is having an existential crisis right now. Yeah, pretty much. That's loading shit like we're in the fucking late 90s. What are we listening to? What is this? Yeah. Look at that rat ogre. That's an absolute fucking beast. Love this. Get a real close up on that. Look at that.
What are we ogling? Oh,
Zophiana, the new follower.
yeah.
That
is a exquisite beastman.
They're playing Caldor as well, but doing it all as rats.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. You can hear the dial tone now. Yeah.
I am
Oh,
also
God.
playing Caldor, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. What are you using, Zophiana? What are you using the Rat Ogre as? Are you playing as an Ogren, or are you playing it as the Cawdor specific brute? Whole bunch. Yeah. Ooh. A female space wolf baby, unsanctioned beast man. Nice. Creature, thank you so much. Thank you for the donation. Ogren Servitor, got it. Yeah. Heads explode. Head's gonna explode. We got a female space wolf. I'm just a female space wolf, baby.
With me Friday, don't say maybe. I'm tired, Father.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa. Okay. Back on track. That's the idea behind the Ratman Cawdor. Okay. The idea is unsanctioned beastmen, and you're using them as an Ogren Servitor. Got it. So I've been listening to way too many British podcasts about Necromunda, so I keep saying Ogren instead of Ogren, you know. Ooh. Sorry, something went wrong with loading your picture. Please try again, or come back when you have a better connection. Well, the connection's fine. PC itself is just being absolutely brutalized between Spotify, OBS, Discord, and Firebot. That's cool as hell. I've never done any bust work before. I don't know if I would enjoy it, because I feel like bust work, like something like this, is something that you've got to put like a lot of time into. And I don't know, I feel like I'd get bored like halfway through and then it'd just sit unpainted on the shelf, or halfway painted on the shelf. But I have a lot of respect for people that do it, though. Especially because everything's so much larger, so you got to make sure you get these details like this, like the shading in the recesses and stuff. I'll ask my arbitrator if I can voluntarily be outlaws and never be able to. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I don't see why you couldn't. Like, I know with Cawdor specifically, the more redemption you have, you know, if you have more redemption than regular Cawdor, then you are automatically outlaw. But I'm pretty sure that was your first ever bust. Are you going to do more? That's awesome. Yeah, if I were arbitrating, like if you were in my campaign, then yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with you just always being outlaw. Oh, Creature, big hugs, by the way. Thank you for the once again, thank you for the donation. Thank you for the little huggy redeems. I'll give you such a big hug. I'm gonna print out that lithophane that I printed, the 3D image. Don't have enough redemptionists for it. New donation from Sovine Hars. Zophiana, was that you that donated? Whoever that was, thank you so much. We hit the goal. 100%.
Well, damn it, I was trying to do it too, and it kept rejecting my card.
That is why. Also, I did have fun with it. Oh, okay.
Well,
thank you.
That's
everybody.
why it wasn't working.
That's why it wasn't working, was because I can move the goalpost a little bit if you still want to contribute.
I'll just give you money later.
I'm weird about people thanking me for stuff, so I'm gonna just sit here and watch the stream for a bit. Creature, I want to print. Thank you to everybody who donated.
It wasn't her.
No,
or them.
Somebody else. Okay.
It wasn't me. That
Yeah.
did not use that name.
Whoever it was, thank you. That was the last little bit needed to get over the finish line. So now I can.
Take a breath and stop complaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be getting a new one. Oh, whoops. Hold on. Lock that in place. There we go. Oh, I'm on the wrong fucking screen. No wonder. There we go. I was like, I want to zoom in on that. Just throw dollar bills at him, make it rain. He's got so many dollar bills, he makes it snow. I don't know.
No, that's when I throw handfuls of change at you. That's
Oh,
what
that's what it is. That's hail. Oh, God. Ow, ow, ow,
Oh, God,
ow.
my feelings.
I have a Primaris librarian here, too. Probably might have to do a dance first. I can dance. I can shake it when I need to.
Let's not say things we're not going to be doing.
Okay. I mean, so creature, I'm definitely going to print one of these for you. Dance for us, frog. I want to print one of these of CV for you, creature. I don't know. That might be worse. Dance for us, frog. Dance. We'll go back to the proper share in just a minute. There you go. Put some of these out there. Whoop, whoop, whoop. You know what we need? Since we hit the goal.
I got it. Yep. We do. There we go.
That's not what I was thinking, but it'll work. It's always a ska break with you.
Yes.
I would love that. I'll find a good picture of him and send it to you. Yes, please. Anybody who has donated to the excuse me. Anybody who has donated to the coffee, if you shoot me an image, any image you want, your favorite image, I will turn it into a lithophane and send it to you at my own personal expense. And now we're just gonna go nuts.
I'm going to send you a picture of the goat seat guy.
Yeah. Ooh, that area's real thick. This is what I was thinking. I was thinking that we've met the goal. Therefore, we must party. Oop. Oh, fuck it. Make it big.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
You're going to find us. Keep trying to donate, just like, nah, you're good.
There we go. Trying to do that, and it said it was out of stock.
Okay. Well, then maybe once you hit 100, it locks you out.
Yeah, that's possible. Oh, she was talking about the party bus.
Oh.
She was trying to do the party bus.
Well,
It was possible. So I can always,
you just let me know.
always bump it up.
Give it to you. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody who did contribute or tried to contribute or whatever else, or even moral support. I do appreciate it. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'll be getting on that soon. I'm also filing my taxes so I can throw a little bit of my own personal income in there and maybe go for one step higher than the one that Riot Sister recommended. We'll all have to give Riot Sister some love from Frog specifically to her. Have to spend 65k points. Do it again. Do it.
Now you listen to me, you crazy old cracker.
We got Zophiana with a little goblin here with a holy shit. He's got a gun.
He's got a gun.
Not a gun. It's a knife. He's got a knife. Got 68,000 stream points. Good lord. Ooh. Look at this big old beast.
Oh no! Oh no!
It's gonna be redeem after redeem after redeem.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a nap. Let me know when it's over.
Yeah. I'm so fucking proud of this. I spent so much time working on this.
Yes, you did.
Because these are all intercut with other stuff too. Like this entire killing spree is not one continuous thing. I had to cut and crop and all kinds of other stuff.
Oh, daddy.
Man takes a lot of pride in his work.
Yep, there it is.
Fuck, I love that movie so much. It didn't try too hard to cash in on the original Evil Dead. Yeah, the chainsaw, dump hand, and
Yeah.
everything like that. But there was no Hail to the King, baby, and all this other
Sure.
wackiness. Evil Dead Rise was really good too. Helium and I watched that together one night on Discord. That shit was good. I enjoyed it. I had to make a follow notification just because the movie was so good. Sophiana, what is these? Another beastie. That was an orc.
I was hoping that it was
Orcs,
just gonna
orcs,
load
orcs.
just the flag,
Yeah.
and we don't get to see the orc.
I'm not gonna see the what, Evil Dead Rise, or just the new Evil Dead wasn't really your flavor. That's fine. I mean, I get it. It's not for everybody, but I enjoyed the air living crap out of it. That
Treymo's
was-
just trying to be a contrarian. That's all it is.
I don't think Tremos. I get it. I mean, it's a very gory movie. So, we watched Evil Dead Rise together. That was one of the ones that we watched that we actually.
Orc Deptus Mechanicus. Oh man.
Fuck
Oh
yeah.
Oh man.
Fuck yeah, dude. That's what I'm talking about. The fucking that's actually a Necromunda model with an orc head. It's the Ambot.
Mm.
Hey Tremo, Icklehoof shared with us how. That's right, yeah. Icklehoof told us how you melt snow there. My boy, it's my boy. We're being raided
Hang on.
by the Scottest of Roscoes. Or is he the Roscoest Scot? I'm not entirely sure.
Why is that not?
You gotta give it a minute before.
gotta
it can-
give it up a minute.
Okay. That was worth the wait. Yeah, it's pretty
There.
badass. The Roscoes of Scots. The most Roscoe of Scots. You're the most Roscoe Scot I know. Washing my bits. Washing my bits. We gotta get you some more clips too, bud. Taking a bath out in public and upset people that are looking at him. What a knob. Yeah, make sure you guys go over and give Scott Roscoe a follow. He's been working on. You were playing Final Fantasy 12 Zodiac Age again,
I
Oh,
love.
still.
I don't care what people say.
dude.
I enjoyed 12 a lot.
Fucking 12 is one of my favorite of the modern Final Fantasies. When you hit the double digits, 12 might be my favorite out of all. 10's pretty good.
Sure.
But
I did like 15.
okay. Final Fantasy 15 is Hot Boy Summer.
Yeah, it was Hot Boy Summer.
Yeah,
Um,
enjoying 12. Yeah,
But-
dude.
I mean, I get that the macro thing was a huge change for like the Final Fantasy formula,
Yeah.
but it just made sense for the time frame. And once you figure it out, it's not that hard. You just
No,
set one
yeah.
person to healer and go, all right, I'm going to smack everything else, and then
Yeah.
you win.
Stick beats face every
That's
time.
true.
Yeah, Zophiana, I like the scrap code Ambot turned into an orc for your Orc Deptus Mechanicus. Was 12 an MMO? No, that was 11. Final Fantasy 11 was the MMO, the failed MMO. And then 13 was the one with lightning and all that, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was 2 of them.
Yeah.
It was 13 and then 13-2 Lightning Boogaloo or whatever it
Yeah,
was.
yeah. Lightning Boogaloo.
And then 14.
14 was the MMO, and then 15 was Hot Boy Summer.
Yeah. I mean, I like 14. I've played a bit of 14. It's fun.
Certainly nice to be back to one with polish after X2. Yeah, the X2 and all that were not my cup of tea. That was Magical Girl Final Fantasy. Ooh, negative charisma. Excuse me. 11 is still online. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay, I must have missed 12 then. I liked 13 and 13 too. Okay. Got
Corridors, the
Okay.
trilogy.
Final Fantasy 13 with Corridors, the trilogy.
I mean, he's
Very
not wrong.
Clever, very clever. Ooh, negative charisma. Good lord. This is your Golden Demon entry for this year? Ooh,
That's wild.
detail. Ooh. The fact that that's yeah. Make them say nah. And that looks like a standard backpack for like a an Imperial Guard or something that size. Holy shit. That's true. 13 was Corridors. There were several others that people don't complain about. Just better hidden. Very true. So you all know Gloom Spite bodies fit Skitarii arms. I was not aware of that. So that like the Gloom Spire Gits actually fit, the Skitarii arms fit on Gloom Spire Git models. That's pretty fucking cool. Oh, it is a commando knob. Okay.
You're a knob.
Oh, I'm a commando knob. I'm a knob that's not wearing underwear, apparently.
Oh.
Oh. Well, thank you for sharing that. Damn, I mean, that's impressive. That's really impressive. I was watching a video earlier on tips about painting leather. Talking about like how to make it look weathered on the edges and stuff like that. Well, thank you everybody for sharing so much stuff. I greatly appreciate that. And I know there's stuff over here in the Necromunda one as well. Oh yeah. Wave high to you and to you. Okay, now we're back. Such a pain, I bet. I can't go that high up. Any tips on painting good freehand? Free plan. Well, you'd probably want to talk to Negative Charisma. I am not good at freehand. The only tip for freehand, really, yeah, brush control. And plan out what you're going to do. Like, have an idea going into it. Try not to make it up as you go. I've found that does not work. Oh, yeah, there was the picture of the vents. This is the part of the Necromunda lore that I'll be reading in just a little bit. Is the vents, the area inside of Hive Tertius, specifically in the area of Col Umbria, which is where we're playing at. There's an area called the vents. It's annoying, but it's just 3 straight lines. That and setting up some kind of grid or something similar for scale and whatnot. The brush control I have is yelling at Tremo to use the airbrush. But yeah, the good news is that having a steady hand is a muscle you train, so the more you practice, the steadier your hand will get. Yeah, very true. And then, of course, here's Sophiana's rat Cawdor in all their glory. Look at that. Make an ice cream or a popsicle or something. My throat is hurting. Learn to draw a perfect hexagon. Oof. Or you can do what I did. Have a stroke. Get your sturdy hands. And then don't listen well. That's true. Your body's got to cooperate. Elite painting strats. I love this. I love all the different rats. I love the rat with the eviscerator. I have a bit of a collection of rats myself. And of course the big screaming bell transport thing.
Screaming bell transport thing?
I can't remember what it's called. Zophiana could probably tell me, but it's a Skaven vehicle.
Oh.
It's got like a big massive fucking wrecking ball on top.
All right.
You can replace that with a bell. But she's using it for her. Excuse me. I don't know why I keep assuming Zophiana is a female, but they keep using it for their Necromunda gang. There you go. The Caldor.
Oh, yeah. All
Caldor heavy
right.
crossbow on top.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's rats. We are the rats. But I will say, with that unicorn, even when at that stress stage of hand muscles, and they were like, nope, you were doing this. Go, girl, go. Single rat yesterday, so hopefully painted up for display. Pretty cool. Yeah, it's got a whole, like...
Yeah, I like it.
It's just such, like, based on the plague furnace. Okay. It's like an orc truck with a Skaven.
You're an orc truck with a Skaven vehicle attached to it. No! Get him! Got him! What else are we doing?
Oh.
It's just... Oh, no.
Coffee's trying to continue. Oh, okay. That looks like
That's it. We done.
should have a guy playing flamethrower guitar on top.
Yes.
Yeah, fair enough. I think everything should have a flamethrower guy on top. Oh, you actually got it primed. Nice. And that's everything there. That's the Necromunda chat and the share chat.
I don't have any new tattoos.
Yeah. And that's the only thing I've done is that so far.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm real happy with the glow on the eyes.
Yeah.
I can go into the newest Hive Tertius lore. What are you going to count the it's your ash waste vehicle? Are you going to count it as a heavy vehicle or like a ridge hauler?
Oh, the last one, Ramo.
Oh,
They were having a good laugh.
gotcha. Well, thank you for that, you guys and gals. Let's see it at the bottom of the screen there. I mean, an ice cream sandwich. Jeez, Waste Control. What are you doing if you didn't get any new tattoos? Come on.
I moved,
Yeah.
and my tattoo artist got pregnant, so
Yeah.
couldn't really get in.
Those two things are not related.
Yes, those two things are not related.
Okay, it is a heavy vehicle. Look at that. Bam, 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 bam. A little bit of
Find the button. There you go.
there it is. Oh God!
Oh,
no!
Oh well, here we are.
It muted it for them. Hopefully, she shows up. I mean, we all kind of are wondering that.
That's true.
Okay. There we go. Maybe I'll get up and smoke a cigarette and then we'll... Are you sure?
Yes, I'm very sure.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we'll take a break and I'll smoke a cigarette and then we'll... No, there's not too much lore to read. I will read back through the original bit about Hive Tertius and then... Moving the fucking mouse over here when I mean that.
Uh-huh.
hard to see when you're looking at the exact same screen twice. But yeah, maybe read back through that and kind of glean over some stuff. But I did. We were riding in the car when we were going up to the comic shop yesterday.
Oh no.
I'm driving and I had to sneeze. And I sneezed and immediately followed it with
Oh, gross. You nasty.
oh boy, you so nasty.
Ew. You so nasty. You made a cryptocurrency and sharked everybody.
That's right.
5, 6, grab your crucifix.
It's gonna be like every half an hour from Creature, you're gonna redeem another one of this. You never know when it's gonna happen. 360 mount with grenade launcher, smoke vents, and body spikes. Very nice. Go with that improved handling too.
Body Spike sounds like a metalcore band.
Hell yeah, body. We are Body Spikes. This next song is called "Fuck Your Yankee Blue Jeans." Oh God. No comment. Creature, have I sent you anything before? I'm pretty sure I've sent you. You've won something on a prize drawing. Oh, and don't forget, just so you know, everybody who contributed to the coffee, like I said, I mean, I could open it if anybody else wanted to get in on it, because Riot Sister has coordinated with Fungal Forge and June Gold Bloom. And for people that contributed different amounts, I've been submitting your name to Riot Sister, and they're doing prize drawings for all those things. There are miniatures. There's going to be, I think there's some custom dice, bunch of stuff. Yeah, you'll have to go to one of Riot Sister streams and ask her, or if she hops in chat, we can ask her. But yeah, she's got a whole prize drawings to do for everybody that contributed to the coffee. So, she has been heard from.
No one. She kind of fell off. The podcast that she was doing imploded, and then the crypto shark, and then that was about it.
Yeah. Hey man, does the old song go? Get the money and run.
Well, yeah, that's fair.
What are you gonna do about it? I mean, you already got your money.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, let's do that. I'll throw it on the Be Right Back screen. I'll get some more water and ice, and y'all can just listen to some tunes. And then I've ever said listen to some tunes a day in my life.
Cool. Thanks, Grandpa.
Yeah, that was unacceptable.
Listen to some tunes. Hey, kids.
Yeah, you kids and your Dan Fogelberg and your video games. Oh, this is old. This is really old. Yeah, this is a very old version. Fuck.
Would you just
all right?
Fucking up left and right, bud.
Yeah, I am spare parts. Go here. I'll move this over to see what I'm doing. That's what I can do. I can open it straight from my Gmail. I don't even have to download it. I'm fucking fake. I'm so fake. Nice. All right, there it is.
Look at your fancy logo on your email. You
right? Oh, my signature for my company emails. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I think we'll throw it on the Be Right Back screen, and we will make sure that's all right. There we go. We're going to throw it on this, and we're going to put that in full screen. If it will cooperate.
Nope.
There it goes. Yeah. Okay, and we will be right back. It's a couple of minutes. There we go, and we are back. Let's go on over here. Okay. May have to change the soundtrack up though. May have to Dark Souls it for reading the lore. Screen. The home screen, you bastard. And kittens sprawled out on the floor like they should be, all tuckered out from hunting rainbows. Yeah. We'll turn off the it'd just take a minute to load back over. No, the microphone's going. Mic's on.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, when
I'm not paying attention.
when it turns rainbow. Okay. We'll put this in focus mode. Then I'm back and listen to the music, and I'm gonna sit here and read. Since it is the last Sunday of the month, I like to go over the lore that I work on throughout the month. If you haven't been here before, this is just the lore for the hive that we're going to be running our campaign in the first set of campaigns, or the first campaign is going to take place in Cole Umbria, which is an area inside of Hive Tertius, which is just a hive that I made up, an area I made up. And so, yeah, I'll just read over the basics of Hive Tertius and then go on to the new parts that we've read before. I will be putting these up as each area and each thing as a separate document on the Discord, so people can go back if they want to read it, or if they, heard something they like. If they hear an idea they like, they want to use for theirs, then by all means do so. None of this is copyrighted or any of that kind of stuff, but hopefully it inspires people to create their own, because Necromunda, what I love so much about it, is that it is a very narrative-based game. There's no winning or losing in Necromunda, really. I mean, it's more about the campaign and the stories that you tell, and the games that we play will be lore that will be added to the lore of Hive Tertius itself. But this is more of like background information for all of the areas. So yeah, I'll start out with reading the brief description of Hive Tertius as always. Hive Tertius. Hive Tertius, a sanctified mechanism of human resilience and ceaseless toil, was born during the Age of Redemption, its inception ordained by the sacred dictates of necessity and survival. Rising from the ash-choked ruins of lesser habitations, it became a beacon of displaced masses and opportunistic factions alike, all seeking shelter within the sheltering aegis of its iron walls and the purity of its manufactorums. Though forged by the labor of countless flesh-bound workers and mindless servitors, Hive Tertius's spires and tunnels were consecrated by the machine god, every cogwheel and cable imbued with a fragment of the Omniscive's ineffable will. Now the Hive stands as a paradoxical monument to humanity's greatness and its eternal decay, a living machine whose gears grind on the bones of the destitute. At its apex, both literally and figuratively, sits Lord Oglethorpe Helmwar, a distant scion of House Helmwar. Enthroned amidst the gilded decadence of the spire's peaks, figure of cold calculation and ruthless pragmatism, Oglethorpe's grip on power is as firm as it is merciless, bolstered by a cadre of enforcers, spies, and Mechanicus allies who ensure his dominance over the city's vast production outputs and tithe quotas to the Imperium. Under his rule, Hive Tertius has flourished as a hub of industry, churning out las weapons, mining equipment, and countless other artifacts demanded by the wider Imperium, but at the cost of deepening misery of the billions who labor below. Among his court of sycophants and rivals are key figures who shape the Hive's destiny. Magus Septurion, a high-ranking tech priest of the Adeptus Mechanicus, serves as Helmwar's primary advisor on matters of technology and manufactorum efficiency. Septurion is enigmatic and unsettling, his flesh largely replaced with augmetics, and his motives opaque even to his lord. The Majo sees the hive not as a city, but as a machine, a complex engine that must be optimized regardless of the human suffering such optimization entails. Hive Tertius is a labyrinthian theater of ambition, despair, and ceaseless churn of production. Its every level humming with the prayers of machines and the wails of the oppressed. The machine god's hymn resounds in its conduits, even as mortal souls clash over its fate, each believing they are destined to master its unyielding, grinding heart. So yeah, there's a little more focus on the Mechanicus in this lore than just your standard 40k stuff. Why did the picture not load? Huh. I'm supposed to have a picture of it right here. Oh well, it's fine. Everything's fine. Okay, let's see. Major characters, we've gone over all those. There's that hunky boy. All right. And yes, we are going down. We've done the Vents, we've done Gravetown, we've done Black Ridge. All the pictures haven't loaded. We've done Appalling. Don't think we haven't done Ferrum. No, we haven't done Lamar either. Oh, but the pictures didn't load in the pictures. Way better.
Oh man.
Or Fort Hellstride. I just realized that. I don't know any of those. Huh. Let me view this document. Fine. I didn't want to edit it anyway. Third. Okay. Whatever. I'll close it and back up again. Oop. Just 1 second. Try loading that back up again. And I hope you all are having a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. I'm thoroughly enjoying myself tonight. The Infragable is raiding with a party of 2. Good night. God bless the... Give it a second for it to load. The Infragable just dragged 2 new subjects into the lab. Prepare the operating room. Hello, how goes? Hello, Fran. How are you doing today? It's going good. We're doing the share stream. I got a guest. And we are doing some reading some lore for Necromunda. How was your stream? What were you playing? Commercials. And the Infragable just subscribed 2 months in a row. Thank you, sir. I greatly appreciate that. Have to throw that
I'm
love
doing
back
pretty
your way,
good,
too.
but I need to pick your brain about something. And I was playing The Last of Us Part 1.
You need to pick my brain about something. You pick my brain about anything you need to, guy. There we go. And apparently it's still not working. Okay. Apparently the video for Infragable still is not working, and I don't know why. It seems to specifically be you. Closes a window. Well, thank you for the raid. Yeah, if you wanna pick my brain here, or you pick my brain in a private chat, either one works. Discord or on here. I'm good either way. Let's see. Any pictures load this time? Son of a bitch, no they didn't. Okay. Fine. None of the cool pictures loaded. That's fine. Music still going? Okay, I hear it now. Yeah, Dark Souls gets really quiet sometimes. Oop. Okay. Okay, there's not a whole lot about this area because this area is kind of an unexplored area, but yeah, welcome on in Fraggle. We are reading some homemade lore for a tabletop game. So Lamhar. Oh goodness, what is this? What is it doing?
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Actually, click the button. Lemhar, a desolate, unknown, and dangerous district in the southwest reaches of Columbria, the maze of collapsed mining tunnels and abandoned slag pits. Once a thriving outpost for ore processing, it fell into ruin decades ago when seismic activity caused catastrophic cave-ins, leaving much of the area unstable and treacherous. The ruined landscape is marked by jagged fissures and gleaming crystals formations that have emerged from the ground, their vibrant, unnatural colors standing in stark contrast to the bleak surroundings. These crystals emit a faint, eerie luminescence, casting ghostly hues of green, blue, and violet across the rubble-strewn terrain. Toxic gases seep from cracks in the earth, and the air is thick with the acrid stench of burnt minerals, making survival here a constant struggle. Despite the dangers, Lamar attracts scavengers and fortune seekers hoping to harvest the crystals, which are rumored to be valuable in both trade and alchemical applications, though many vanish into its depths, never to return. Like I said, there's not much to this area because it's largely unexplored. So, as games go on, we'll add to that. And yes, for those of you who don't know, Infragable is another real-life friend of mine who's just gotten into streaming. Was streaming for a little bit, if I'm not mistaken, and then you stopped for a while, and then you came back to it. And has been playing lots of video games. He's been playing all the Mario RPGs, The Last of Us, and Spider-Man. Or Peter-Man, as he was calling him. He was a spider that was bitten by a radioactive Peter. So, I'm not sure if you'll know the answer to this, but if not, maybe someone who has some experience with this. I had a wonderful artist make emotes, sub badges for me. I figured out how to get my emotes working, but for whatever reason, I am unable to download the sub badges. It's making me go mad. For the sub badges, I tell you what I can do. Now, you said you couldn't even download or you couldn't upload them to Twitch. Excuse me. I'll keep reading while you type your response in. Why is my throat so scratchy?
I don't know.
All right, so the next part is Fort Heltstride. You know what this is.
Mm-hmm.
The Palanite Enforcer Bastion. Situated strategically between Lamar and Grovetown, Fort Helstride serves as a major Palanite Enforcer base, imposing order, or a semblance of it, over the volatile expanse of Columbria. Could not upload to Twitch. It keeps upload is taking too long. I had that problem with a couple of uploads before, and it was that the file size was a little big. Is there any way you can reduce it? Like go to, if you don't have Photoshop, go to Photopea, Photopeea. It is a free version of Photoshop that is through your Photoshop that's through your browser, and edit the files and see if you can't make them slightly smaller. Like PNGs over a certain size, it has a hard time loading. That's the little lab rat sub badges that I have. I had to really scale those down. I think those are like maybe 32 by 32 or 25K per. I'm not entirely sure. And they're PNG. Yeah, I had that problem with something before. I just kind of basically just kept doing it until eventually it took. Awesome. Utix Gundyr. What was the website again? I'll type it out for you. Moved your phone over there. Or purposefully. Yep. Photopia.com is a free version of Photoshop that is all browser based. Where I do a lot of my photo editing and stuff. Okay. So Fort Hellstride. Modeled after the hardened military bastions of the Imperium, Fort Hellstride is a sprawling, heavily fortified complex designed to protect the Enforcer's authority across the Underhive. Its brutalist architecture is a blend of ancient hive engineering and Palanite functionality, with reinforced ferrocrete walls, watchtowers bristling with automated weaponry, and rows of armored vehicles stationed inside its courtyards. Yeah, I recommend it. Between Photopia and Clipchamp, which is like good video editing, or free video editing software. I'm sure it's not good, but it's free. That's where I made all my, any one of my videos that plays on stream comes from that. All right, structure and design. Fort Hellstride's layout reflects both its military purpose and its role as a logistical hub. At its center lies the command spire, a towering structure from which the precinct commander oversees operations. Inside the spire, Vox relays hum constantly as officers direct patrols, raids, and supply shipments across Columbria. Around the command spire are numerous barracks, training grounds, and motor pools, where enforcer squads drill and prepare for deployment. One of the fort's key features is the Hellstride Armory, a vast underground storage facility that houses an arsenal of weapons, ammunition, and riot suppression gear. The armory is said to contain prototype equipment supplied by the Adeptus Mechanicus used exclusively for high-risk operations. The fort is encircled by towering walls topped with heavy stubbers and grenade launchers. These defenses are complemented by a series of checkpoints and watchtowers, which control access to the surrounding roads and tunnels. A section of the perimeter is dedicated to the Grave March Gate, a heavily trafficked checkpoint for supply convoys and prisoner transfers between Gravetown and Lemhar. All the way on. Here we go. Fort Hellstride serves as both a defensive stronghold and a staging ground for the Palanite Enforcers' operations in Columbria. I wish there were more people around me that played Necromunda. Yeah, I feel you there. I wish I had the ability to take it up, go up to the hobby shop and do it. I'd have to take days off of work. With my son being the way he is, I can't go after work and go play. I'd love to get a full-blown local campaign going, but like I said, I'd have to take days off of work in order to be able to run a campaign. You could only play on Tabletop Simulator. Have they uploaded all the models and stuff to TTS? It's basically going to be, it's a lot like Miniature Gaming Montage if you watch them on YouTube. It's basically just going to be me and Waste Control. Maybe my wife or daughter might get in a game, but it's just going to be the two of us. We got a whole bunch of the gangs, so. Purpose and operation. Fort Hellstride serves as both a defensive stronghold and a staging ground for the Palanite Enforcers' operations in Columbria. Its primary purpose is to maintain order in the region, ensuring that the vital production centers of Gravetown and the surrounding areas continue to supply Hive Tertius with materials. From Fort Hellstride, Enforcer squads are dispatched to suppress gang activity, break strikes, and investigate incidents of industrial sabotage. You could find the models if you looked hard enough on the Steam Workshop. I gotcha. God, I haven't done anything in Tabletop Simulator in a long time. Oh, hi, MD. How are you? We were looking at your artwork earlier. We're doing the lore stream. So sit on back with your hot cup of beverage of your choice. The base is also a center for... And Fraggle, is that Kirby with a Bane mask on? What is that?
Is 100% what that is.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Very nice. I'm liking that emote. You may have adapted to the dreamland. I was born in it.
I've absorbed it.
That's right. Okay. The base is also the center for processing captured criminals. Prisoners brought to Fort Hellstride are interrogated in the detention halls, where they are either conscripted into forced labor or executed, their bodies dumped into the toxic wastes of, and that shouldn't be Lemhar, that should be appalling. It's Mallow with a Bane mask on, because I gave Mallow a Bane voice. Gotcha. Well, Mallow from Super Mario RPG. In addition to its security functions, Fort Hellstride operates as a logistical hub. Oh, hi, Frog. I'm good. I'm just watching a documentary about Vincent van Gogh. I know it's Vincent. Yeah, it looks like Kirby. In addition to its security functions, Fort Hellstride operates as a logistics hub, managing supply routes and distributing rations, weapons, and resources for smaller enforcer outposts scattered across Columbria. The fort's monorail station connects it directly to the larger infrastructure of Hive Tertius, making it a critical node in the Hive's operational network. Fort Hellstride is commanded by Marshal Corvin Dragon, a hardline enforcer with a reputation for non-compromise and savagery. Dragon has built himself a bit of a reputation, known for his unyielding commitment to the Emperor's law. He views the Underhive as a disease that needs to be cut out, and his methods reflect his beliefs, swift, uncompromising, and often brutal. Dragon's leadership has earned him the loyalty of his officers, though many of his rank and file whisper of his cold detachment and willingness to sacrifice his own men if it serves the greater mission. He is frequently seen wearing his custom carapace armor, adorned with the insignia of the enforcers and reinforced with rare metals scavenged from Mechanicus caches. Despite its formidable defenses, Fort Hellstride is under constant pressure from the surrounding chaos of Columbria. The gangs of Gravetown and Lemhar, particularly the Rot Grinders and the nomadic Shard Saints, frequently test the enforcers' authority, ambushing patrols and sabotaging supply lines. The toxic environment itself is a persistent threat, with the fort's outer structures constantly eroded by chemical runoff and acid rain from the wastes. I did get to play halfway in a Tabletop Simulator campaign. Adored my way into a 100% not lost percentage. Very nice. Well done. You must be a very, very strategic player. 100% win rate for Audor. Oh, see me. In recent years, the fort has also become the target of political intrigue. The Mercator Nautica, the Water Guild, and the Mercator Gelt, the Trade Guild, vie for influence over its operations, seeing Fort Hellstride as a means to secure control over the region's resources. This has created tension within the enforcer ranks, as some officers have begun taking bribes to favor one guild over the other, further complicating Dragon's attempts to maintain discipline. Path of the Doomed go brrr. Yeah, it is one of the more fun paths, isn't it? To the people of Columbria, Fort Hellstride is a symbol of oppression and inevitability. Watchful towers loom over the region like a constant reminder of the Hive's unyielding law. while its patrols and convoys represent both safety and tyranny. For many, the fort is a place of fear, a destination for those who have crossed the wrong guild or gang, never to be seen again. For others, it is a lifeline, the only semblance of order in an otherwise anarchic wasteland. Not win rate, but never lost. I drew a few times. Fair enough. Makes sense. I did think that was a weird way to word it. Not lost. 100% not lost percentage. No matter the perspective, Fort Hellstride is an indomitable presence in the Underhive. Its walls echoing with the relentless march of boots and the grinding hum of armored vehicles, ensuring that the Emperor's law is enforced in even the darkest corners of Hive Tertius. Now, I know I didn't upload any pictures. And we're on to the other part. We're on to Farum. With a name picked by my boy.
Yeah!
He's here. Farum, the Iron Beacon of Columbria. Nestled northeast of Gravetown and just below the main entrance to the vents, Farum stands as a thriving hub of industrial salvage and trade in Columbria. Like many of the surrounding districts, I get my head together here.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike many of the surrounding districts, Farum has managed to harness its rich deposits of scrap and its proximity to the key trade routes to become a bustling center of activity. Towering stacks of salvaged machinery and gleaming metal dominate the landscape, interspersed with refineries and workshops that churn day and night, producing tools, weapons, and components vital to the Underhive's economy. Farum is a testament to the ingenuity and resilience of its inhabitants, who have transformed what could have been a derelict wasteland into one of Columbria's most vibrant and prosperous regions. The landscape of Farum. Farum is a maze of neatly organized scrap heaps, operational workshops, and carefully preserved manufactorum ruins. The ground is still uneven in places, but much of the terrain has been stabilized through generations of labor. Networks of makeshift roads and reinforced pathways wind through the region, allowing traders and scavengers to transport their goods with relative ease. Above it all looms the Spine, a massive ancient assembly line that stretches across the region. Its once rusted frame now reinforced and partially restored. Sections of the Spine have been repurposed into workstations and storage areas, creating a hive of activity where salvage is processed into raw materials or converted into finished goods. The glow of the forges and the hum of machinery echo throughout the district, giving Farum a feel of a living industrial heart beating within the Underhive. Points of interest. Some I decided to start adding in here. The Spine, Farum's most iconic structure. This colossal assembly line has been transformed into the district's central hub of activity. Traders, smiths, and scavengers gather here to refine raw materials, repair equipment, and negotiate deals. The Spine's vast interior serves as a communal marketplace, stalls and makeshift shops occupying every available corner. The Rust Spire, fortified settlement perched high atop a high ridge of reinforced slag. The Rust Spire functions as both a residential area and a defensive outpost. Its inhabitants are among Farum's most skilled artisans and scavengers, and its elevated position offers a clear view of the surrounding region, making it an ideal vantage point against potential threats. The Rust Spire in the pictures, the Rust Spire actually goes up like just the top of it just barely goes into the vents itself. The Black Pools. Despite Farum's relative prosperity, black pools remain a dangerous and mysterious part of the district. These deep pits of toxic sludge are both a hazard and a resource. As skilled chemsmiths can extract rare compounds from their depths, the pools are carefully cordoned off, with strict rules governing their access to prevent accidents. Inhabitants and economy. Farum's population is diverse, composed of scavengers, artisans, traders and laborers who work together to keep the district running. Known as ironmongers, these inhabitants pride themselves on their ingenuity and craftsmanship, with many specializing in the repair and creation of tools, weapons, and machinery. The district's economy revolves around its scrap trade. Salvagers bring in raw materials from surrounding areas, which are processed and sold in Gravetown and further afield. Rustspire houses some of the most skilled techsmiths in Columbria, whose custom-crafted equipment fetches high prices on the black market. Fairham's strategic location near the entrance of the vents also makes it a key waypoint for traders and guild representatives, further boosting its economic importance. Threats and challenges. Though prosperous, Fairham is not without its dangers. Its wealth and resources make it an attractive target for gangs and rival factions, particularly the Black Iron Reavers, a Goliath-affiliated group that frequently raids the district's outer settlements. Mercator Gelt also maintains a strong presence in Fairham. He can control its trade and extract their share of its profits, often sparking tension with the local population. Environmental hazards remain a constant concern, with toxic runoff from the black pools occasionally seeping into nearby workshops and residential areas. While much of Fairham has been stabilized, the occasional collapse of older infrastructure serves as a grim reminder of the district's precarious foundation. I think this last little bit. Yeah. Time. Oh, it's only 10:17. It's not bad. Oh, Lord. Oh, that's not good. See what happens there. All of a sudden, my data rate just bottomed out. Oh, no. This hasn't happened in a long time. The stream doesn't just shut off. Hey, is that where the splinter was?
No, that was in my.
Oh. Torn up
Who knows what happens?
Torn up knuckles. I do you happen. There we go. All right. Legacy and role in Columbria. Fairham stands as a symbol of Columbria's potential, a district that has risen from the ruins of past industry to become a beacon of productivity and innovation. Skilled artisans and thriving trade make it a vital part of the Underhive's ecosystem, and its success inspires hope in surrounding regions that prosperity is possible, even the harshest corners of Hive Tertius. Whether as a hub for trade, a workshop for ingenuity, or a haven for those seeking opportunity, Fairham truly lives up to its name as the Iron Beacon of Columbria. That's it. That's everything I got so far.
Ta-da!
Dance. There we go. Got this. That motherfucker. Sources. Hopefully I haven't lost connection. Doesn't look like I have. But it's damn sure taking a second to load.
Good.
Okay. It's taking a second to load. Oh, I need to blow my nose in.
Do it! It's picking up you blowing your nose from all.
Oh, God.
Your little guy was just jumping. Oh no, nose blowing. What? We crying over marshmallows? How could you spill marshmallow? So bouncy.
All right.
Suddenly, from the top rope.
The top rope comes a mighty unicorn yell. There we go. All right.
Shut the f up, Steve!
I mean, that's more apt.
Yeah. All right. And Creature, I got the picture you sent me. Cool. I'll get working on it. All right, we're zoomed all the way in. Focus. 22.
Fix your dongle.
Fixing my dongles. Wrong direction. Whoa. I don't have a low light. Whoa, God, way too high. 150. 150, something like that. I know the contrast needs to be. I see you, chat. Give me just 1 second. 50. White balance. 1,000. That should be a little bit better. A little pink. There we go. And we go back to the Twitch playlist. Gasp. What are you gasping about, MD?
I think it was dongle talk.
It was a dongle talk. Who talks about dongles? There we go. Oh, wait, that's my playlist. I was like, I don't remember this song being on the Twitch playlist. I mean, it's a good song. There we go. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. A little bit of painting for the last half an hour, and there goes the fucking
What?
Connection. Kind of weird. It hasn't done that in a very long time.
Could be on Twitch's end.
That's very true.
You know how many drop frames?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you?
CB. That's CB boy.
I'm just gasping to be gasping.
That's right. MD does gasp. You have any pearls you can clutch?
I grip this very small dog tightly.
That's right. There we go. There we go. All right. Don't think gloves need to be on any tighter. Yeah, so this is something I was working on. Oh, that's actually not so bad. I want to move it right up on the camera like that. I say, "Oh, we're working on." Yeah. So I was working on another enforcer and just testing out some of the colors, like the shades of blue and stuff like that, to see what I thought of them. I actually really dig the shit out of that. It's like a real dark blue, like a dark greenish blue.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Y'all have some.
Get you some.
There was a guy that I
Where the
used to
cars live.
Yeah. This is where the cars live. There was a guy that I used to work with named Mingo Brinson. He was a 7-foot tall, older gentleman. And he had the deepest voice I'd ever heard. And he was very loud too, because he was going deaf.
Sure.
And he would come in every morning with a plate of breakfast, and it was eggs, sausage, grits, and 2 pieces of the crispiest bacon you've ever seen in your entire life.
Okay.
It might as well have been a plank of wood.
All right.
But every day he would come in, he would sit down, he would set his plate down on the table, and he'd go, "Y'all have some." And it was just like, whoa, Jesus Christ. Like the first time he walked in, but it was every single morning that he came in. "Y'all have some."
So he just sodomized you with his voice first thing in the morning. Huh? Okay.
I mean, just full on rupture. So yeah, but yeah, so ever since then, "Y'all have some." Receiving Mingo. Good Lord, man.
With a name like Mingo, you've got to have
Right.
some kind of either you know, you ever have to have a personality quirk to make it happen.
Yeah.
You
He had
know?
a bushy white handlebar mustache. He wore like one of the huge belt buckles, but it had a slot in the back to put his Zippo in.
Sure.
And then he smoked like Marlboro Red unfiltered.
Oh,
Yeah, he was a cowboy.
that
He was
man
fantastic.
has seen some shit.
Yes, he has. How many kangaroos has he fought? I don't know. Yeah, this is what I have been working on. Damn, there's such. I need to put some color on here. I must construct more pylons. Oh, the song from. Oh, hey, I know who picked this song.
That would be me. I did it.
I need to add some color to this so the white stops just crashing the camera. The last member of my Goliath gang is the Forge Tyrant, El Tiranu. Once he is done, then this will be the first time I have like an entire faction completed for any tabletop game ever. I've never completed an army. I've never completed anything.
You didn't complete your orcs?
Never completed my orcs because I was always adding more.
That's fair.
I was, every time you turn around, it was like, hey, I've got an idea. I've got another idea for another conversion. What happened to the last one? Scrap that one. Because we haven't seen Grey Knight in a while, and she normally redeems this one, so I'm going to redeem it myself.
Technically, they're not dragons, they're wyverns. Get fucked! No one cares. Absolutely get fucked. Fuck off with your dragon lore.
That's right.
Get fucked. Anyway. No, I actually do like knowing those little things.
Why don't you lich my balls?
Why don't you lich my balls? You have to immediately follow that with, that's an undead wizard. I know things. Michael Paints Minis, what is going on? I can resonate with never painting everything because I keep adding things to my army, right? Yeah, it's one of those like, I mean, if we were all smart, and we're not, because we collect little plastic men, we would, you know, buy a unit and then paint that unit, then buy another unit and paint that unit. But that's not how this works.
Because dopamine's a bitch.
Yeah, because dopamine is wonderful. So we all go out and we buy 17 units for our army, and then we paint about half of one of them, and then we don't.
Good job on that, by the way. Sarcasm, so your self-test complete.
I love Glad. How goes things with you, Michael Paints Minis? We did the share stream earlier. We read a little bit of Necromunda lore. Apparently the Gravenleys, if you know Gravenley Studios and Lady Gravenley, they've started referring to me as the Necromunda lore master. I like that. I'm kind of all right with that.
All right.
They're like, Froggenstein's our resident Necromunda lore master. And I'm like, yeah, fuck it. I'm not going to argue with that. There's a reason we call it Plastic Crack. Very true.
Not gonna lie, Plastic Crack is a pretty good album title.
Yeah. Yeah, this model, this isn't an official GW model. This one is from Across the Realms. It's a 3D designer on My Mini Factory. About to drop kick his badges. Oh, Lord. The only other recommendation I can make in Fraggable, YouTube videos. I learned about 90% of the stuff I know for streaming from just watching YouTube video after YouTube video after YouTube. I spent, I think it was probably about a 6-month build up to when I first started streaming, just watching nonstop YouTube videos on how to program shoutouts, how to do an interface, all that kind of shit.
How to touch butts.
How to touch butts, all the butts. That wasn't on YouTube, but...
Yes, it was.
No, it was on a different type of tube. On a man tube. Gross.
Yeah.
Unacceptable. That's fine. You touch whatever tubes you want to touch.
Sure, don't touch the tubes.
As young boys often do. What has happened?
I'm waiting for the stream to catch up for that one.
Yeah. Well, I bought a Thousand Suns unit today, and before that, two Myphitic Blight Haulers. Before that, Corner Berserkers and Chaos Terminators. Also, I can do a meme army. Oh God! And I keep seeing more things I want to add. You're trying to find how to do like sub badges and stuff. Yeah, like I said, I spent the better part of like 6 months just watching videos and like making notes and making mental notes and doing stuff like designing my my overlays and all that kind of stuff. So when I finally went live, I was like ready to go. Unfortunately, even the fucking internet connection was back then
Full of water.
Yeah, it was just full of water. I mean, water can be garbage.
Cannot be wet.
Water cannot be wet, correct. Thank you, coffee. I guess I should update that. Maybe? I don't know. I mean, it's too late to turn the bot off now. I'll turn the bot off at another time. But
Sure.
for the next stream. A Bad Bunny. I like Bad Bunny. He's got a song with the Gorillaz now. Latest album.
Oh, yeah.
Good. As I would expect. Did that help stop the camera from freaking out so much? Kind of. It's hard to see. He's got a like a big skull helmet on, and I painted it up like an actual like kind of cartoony type skull for his face. Very Day of the Dead. Like the Mexican holiday, not the movie. Very cool. Very cool. I think we're very cool. I think we're all pretty cool.
I'm all right.
Yeah. Yeah. Fine.
Yeah, rip.
Yeah, he's got some. He is definitely a very vascular man. I'll give him that. He's got some veins. He's veiny.
He's got a vascular. Knows how
That's
to
right.
use it.
That's right. It works so well. It's almost works on its own. Water is cool usually. Yeah. No, you are.
I'm just eyeballing you real
I was
close.
gonna say, yeah, I just saw out of my peripherals. What's this now? Oh, redeemed hydrate. Thank you. Thank you, MD. Let me I'm a thirsty boy.
Sir, please.
Not how that was intended. I'm so cool, I'm not cool. Michael Paint's Minis was cool before it was cool to be cool. Oh God, I've gone cross-eyed. So meta. Yeah, it's right.
Like an armpit area, or it's like the upper
Yeah,
rib.
and it's all the area. Yeah, the armpit, under the pec, all that. And because I did that whole arm like a metallic red, like a synthetic muscle. So it's like if I go too far, then I end up painting that over again. I have to put the metallic back on and then put the red wash over the top. I don't want to deal with it.
And that makes sense.
And now I was telling Jenny, I was, let's see. If that means I was an OG nerd, then I can agree. Yeah. I've been a nerd for as long as I can remember. I was born a poor black child. Yeah. You youngins haven't watched that. Really ought to. The Jerk with Steve Martin.
The original one.
Yeah, the original The Jerk.
What?
Orin said you could watch Loser with Jason. With teenage dirtbag.
I'm just a dirtbag, baby.
Like we've got Wheatus right here in the room with us.
That's right. I take a deep breath.
Oh yeah, I knew the ref. Such an OG nerd, you knew the ref. Oh, you got the referee. Okay.
Yeah, not the referee.
I was like the referee of nerds. What's this? Why wasn't I informed or asked to be one? Yeah. Oh, I was explaining to my wife the other day. I was like, yeah, so I, painting this up and this, that, and the other thing, and he's gonna have like a cool yellow cable running down the arm and maybe do some hazard stripes on it and turn it over. And I was like, that's a fucking orange cable. How did I confuse yellow and orange? I was like, I'm pretty sure I painted yellow on this. What the fuck? I want that.
Head trauma's a hell of a thing.
Yeah, man. You get those. Yeah. Gives me a
That's what that is.
Yeah, she gives me a dinger.
No, I don't.
Stir.
Like a dinger in the head with a hammer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I'm now the ref of nerds. I have to start putting all these on my business card. Put that on a t-shirt.
I'm sure there's some neckbeards out there that would love to fight you for that.
Oh my god, would they?
Basically all Space Wolves players.
I'll have yeah, exactly. As a neckbeard central. Oh, I thought it was playing Teenage Dirtbag. I was like, okay, it can't just be coincidence here. Apparently that's my theme song now. But have a nerd off. Trivia off. All right, remember, here's the rules. One question at a time. Your opponent has a chance to answer. No hitting, no spitting, and no stupid crap like what's Lucy Lawless's bra size. Oh, but I know that one. Yeah, so do all sad boys.
Okay, good. I'm glad you said that because I don't know it.
Yeah,
so
yeah. You're not a sad boy.
No, not for that reason.
Yeah, you're more of a. Are you more of a falling in reverse sad boy versus
no?
Spend $2,000 and waiting 6 months to get one of those realistic sex dolls in the mail. 6 months, really?
Wait, where are you getting this information from?
It was from an episode of Big Mouth.
Oh, okay.
Right? He was like, what did he say? He says something that they're talking to the shame wizard, and he says something about waiting 6 months for his sex doll to come in the mail. And he is like, 6 months, really? And it's like, well, they've got to get the eyes just right. And it's like,
yeah, that's the portion that they have to get just right.
Yeah.
Had about 10 Kill Team nerds on table. Paint club. Cacophony of bro. Oh, gross.
Yeah. Kill Team is like the competitive version of Necromunda.
No thanks. I'm good.
Yeah. I thought it was actually supposed to be more of a casual game, but apparently they've played at tournaments and stuff.
Every game is supposed to be casual until other people.
Yeah, it's very true. Stops being fun, it's time to stop playing. Several bromances in one day. Well, everyone have a lovely night. I'm going to start getting ready for bed. Good night, Icklehoof. Thank you again for everything. Being here. I hope you get good sleep. I hope them kitties snuggle up to you and you can all sleep in a
Old pile of love.
yeah, in a big old pile of love.
That's the name of my autobiography.
A big old pile of love, yeah. They were
Yeah.
We can get worse than that. We'll leave it at steaming pile of love. I could get. Like Bellamy, this is most irregular. Big pile of hot and steamy love. I mean, sure.
Yuck. 300-pound men sweating
On each other.
on each other.
Yeah. I'm fairly certain my autobiography would be called Seriously, Where's My Thumb? Two cat trees in the bedroom for nighttime roosting, and they can't get along. That's cats. Songs to Test by Collector's Edition. I did not know that was.
No, to be fair, your autobiography would be called Insert Movie Quote Here.
Yeah, very true. Or just like 37% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, not bad enough to be an abject failure. Not great.
Yeah. No, I swear, Josie and the Pussycats is my favorite movie.
Josie and the Pussycats is the best movie ever. It says so. It said so, all right? Love Gladys's voice.
I think, it's about fucking time.
Yeah. Yes, I like the fact that my brother wants his to say may contain beef lips.
There's no mate. Brother eats things that.
That's yeah,
yeah.
My brother sucks the crawdad heads, sucks the brains and stuff out of crawdad. Motherfucker, like people say, like you'll eat anything. My brother will literally eat. He even had the fermented bean paste stuff that they do in Japan. Like,
natto?
I think that's what it's called.
I would have ice cream.
Blackpink? Or
I would rub myself on all.
Blackpink and Selena Gomez talking about ice cream. And there's ice cream involved.
I couldn't imagine that the Velcro noise like that would make after the ice cream dries and you're trying to peel yourselves off of one another. Yeah.
I'm glad that was the direction you were heading.
Where's my thumb is much better than oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that.
Seriously, where is my thumb?
Yeah.
Actually, the subtitle of that book is just wet popping noise.
Wet thumb noise. minutes. May right into this Mechanic Games if he's still streaming. He's just gotten over a bout of COVID that apparently ran through his entire household.
Duck.
Him, his brother, his brother's 2 kids, I think.
Their brother Derek.
What was Squirrely Dan was always referring to as was it a second cousin?
You talking about the niece and nephew?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Samuel.
Yeah.
It was always like I was up to the street with my second cousin the other day. And it was Jarrett and Garrett. That's what it was. And it was whoever they said, it was always the opposite person. Who, Jarrett? No, Garrett.
I need to watch that again.
I really do want to go back through and just rewatch all of Letterkenny. I fucking love it. Oh, the story of Squirrely Dan talking about when he when him and Wayne got arrested. He's explaining the whole story, and he's like, he says him and Wayne were running from the cops, and he went up a tree, and Wayne was hiding in the bushes, and the cop stops and does some real dirty, hairy shit. He says, well, if I had known I was going to be chasing a couple of uptown street toughs, I'd have done up my top button. And I let out an audible gasp. He whipped that taser around and he shot me, and it locked onto one of my nipple rings. And I fell out of the tree convulsing on the floor. And he just pulled it right out, took the nipple ring with it. I cried. I'm not afraid to admit that. I cried.
Thinking of Squirrely Dan with the nipple thing.
Yeah. It doesn't come as a surprise.
No. Not a lot comes as a surprise from that show.
Yeah. I put a lot of I went through the entire soundtrack, like found it online.
Oh yeah.
And added like almost every one of the songs to my playlist. Yeah, I mean there's some songs that are a little
Sure. They can't all be bangers.
Yeah. But
All right.
easy. But yeah, anytime one of the songs that Stewart and Skids dance to comes on, I can't help but start laughing just thinking like just the ridiculous Tupac Shakur.
What else was there? DJ names. They rattled off a ton of them.
Well, there was the when Stewart was talking about going back to scratching him and all of his personas. He's like, how many personas do you have? And he had like 25.
Yeah.
It was like DJ White Power, or DJ White Power Top, DJ White Power Bottom. So many of them.
You know.
What did I miss? I was taking my monthly shower. Ugh.
Gross.
Ugh. That stopped me dead. I wasn't even wiping paint off my wet palette. I was just running it over the empty wet palette because I was so grossed out by that. We were just talking about Letterkenny.
No, we need to talk about this monthly shower now.
Yeah, can we address this?
Are you fermenting? What are you doing?
Yeah. Like a fine kimchi.
Good, then let's bury him in the backyard.
Oh,
That's the 1,000-year egg.
both.
Do you?
Yeah, you bury kimchi.
I don't know.
Yeah, you bury it in a clay pot. The 1,000-year eggs you let sit for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you don't have to worry about eating a rotten ass egg.
Yeah.
This is no, it's not. It is not a judge-free zone. Not when you say I take one shower a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Do you just chafe when you walk?
Yeah.
How much flakes off of you?
Oh, no.
Well, I'm just asking.
Okay.
I'm not judging.
Yeah.
I'm asking questions.
It's curiosity. It's not judgment.
This is scientific need.
Judging.
You stunk so bad it dragged me back out of bed.
Fuck, that was good. Oh, I can't paint. Oh no.
Blech.
Like a fine flaky fish.
It's called
flavored.
No, it's not. Not after a month. It's called biohazard. Eventually,
wonderful.
helium just gets the crust and is nigh invincible.
That's right.
Whoa. You have to get through my 17 layers of flakes.
That's right. Like a sweaty flavor.
Gross. All of this sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Fine beef jerky.
That's so now we're leaving her out in the sun.
Yes.
What do we?
Yes.
You damn well know she does not go out in the sun.
That's very
Oh,
true.
it's a she?
It's helium.
It's helium.
You were saying she just finished taking her monthly shower. Maybe it's a squishy, oily, musky sound and smell.
Oh God.
Dude.
Yes. Like Frog said, I'm going for the kimchi aroma.
Well, you're
Yes.
failing. Please take a shower more than once a month. No, Icklehoff, don't hug her. You'll get it on you.
Technically now she's had her bath,
Oh, that's
her
fair.
shower.
Guess that was rude of me to hug her.
Yeah. Audacity.
My milk just curdled in.
Da-da-do.
That's gonna haunt you for a while,
It is.
isn't it?
It really is. The crotch rot, man. It was not.
Like the dumpster out back of an all-you-can-eat seafood.
Oh God!
After a long summer
Summer
rain.
day.
Uh-huh. All the loves. Could be worse. It could be the aroma of 1,000 unbathed neckbeards at the 40K cons. That's very
Oh
true.
man,
That's true. I've been to a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament before.
I
know
go
that.
to I go to magic conventions.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, Waste Control goes to Magic the Gathering tournaments. He knows what it is.
yeah, it's bad.
He knows the deal. He's been
Bad.
there.
I've also been to anime conventions,
Spending
so I
time doing
also
troubleshoot.
I have been all the same places, and I make sure that I at least not adding to. I shower daily. I put deodorant on. I even take deodorant with me in my backpack at convention, just in case I get hot, because I don't want to add to that
Yeah.
funk.
Take you like a bag of like Axe body spray and just randomly spritz people with it.
No.
Au natural.
And
Well, the-
farting on people, just spraying people.
Yeah.
Listen here, you
That's
nasty
disgusting.
ass.
I've been in a hobby shop before that had a thing like it was mandatory to put on deodorant before you could come in. It's time to do.
It's time to take a damn shower.
It's time to bathe.
Gosh.
Or the smell of a sickly, sweet and sour, yeasty smell.
Ooh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Brother.
Brother, what is that? Right.
Yeah.
The beast yeast.
Fuck. Blah. Cool. Hate it.
Yeah.
Hate it.
Somebody's rocking a full-on fallopian fungus.
Oh, God. That's how crotch rot.
We're gonna get some very angry Discord messages later.
I'm fairly certain.
My own mouth.
Creamy boy still loves me.
Okay. That's, you know what? That is true that he still
Oh.
loves you. He must have lost his sense of smell in the war.
Yeah.
On COVID.
All's I'm saying, if soap looked like the Blue Eyes White Dragon, more people would bathe.
Fuck.
That's true. All I can think of is the The Meat Canyon UEO. See, the thing is, Joey, I'm not going to help you this stream. Fucking asshole in that.
No, at this point, it needs to be a hentai tentacle. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Or
Search
just
for cream boy.
just put a bar, just get a bar of soap and
I
put
got
some
to
cat
write
ears
this.
on it. Good.
Include showering and
He
deodorant.
hugs me through the bubble
Yes.
suit.
Michael paints minis. I get to write a suggested code of conduct for the game store I run a paint club at. It shall include showering and deodorant are necessary. Absolutely.
But it's just like,
It's common courtesy.
yeah. It
feels like the wrong anime, but then again.
like I get that people have different ideas. I get that. But I would like to break away from the stigma that all nerds are stinky bastards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like we can do better as a collective.
Yeah.
And we should do better.
Well, see, and
So Helium, take a goddamn shower more than once a month. Is what I'm saying.
it comes full circle. My thing is like I could get people not wearing specific types of deodorants because of an allergy, because I do
Sure.
have an issue with certain types of deodorant
I do too.
causing my armpits to get like a real bad rash.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I get that, but there's so many different types out there. You got to find that one that works for you and then just really lay it on there. That's Jesus Christ.
Sure, there are some non-intentional odors. Yes, we understand that. There's no, once a week, Helium. Ew.
Okay, fine.
God.
No, every other week.
No,
Goodness.
once a week.
Oof.
Minimum.
Yeah.
I get that people do have different scents due to diet and genetics and stuff like that, but like if you just smell like feet, take a fucking shower.
Yeah.
Sorry. I
At
have
least
no sympathy
rinse.
for you. Just take a shower. And what about, I mean, I take a shower a day.
Every day.
Every day.
And it's okay to bring it with you too, so it wears out soon. Oh yeah. Like bring a deodorant with you.
That's what I said. I
Keep
take
one in the car.
I take one with me to conventions in my book bag just in case.
Just thinking about being in like a convention center makes me want to sweat. I just like when there's a whole bunch of people in a place and like I know there's going to be just a shitload of body heat. I don't know if it's like an instinctual reaction, but like I naturally just start sweating.
Yeah, sure. Well, it gets hot in those places.
Yeah.
You're shoulder to shoulder. Inflation. Shut up, Healy. Take a fucking shower. Like I will die on this hill.
Inflation. Shrinkflation's everywhere now. Taking notes. Good. MD, pay attention.
Well, it's just about common courtesy. That's all.
Yeah. And that's when it's one thing if the kid's like a little bit younger, like just starting to hit
Sure.
puberty.
We're talking about grown adults with adult money.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, how about you skip the next booster pack and just buy yourself a travel size thing of deodorant? They're about the same price.
Sure.
So just it's the unwashed.
The water
butts,
bill is
no.
woman. Take a you were. I swear to God, if you show up back here, I'm gonna hose you off.
Oh, shoot.
I don't care what time of year it is, what time of day it is. I will get the hose out.
Where's that? There's his sub badge. Oh, helium always smells wonderful.
Don't. Okay. But we're talking about the people.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they do that crap all the time, Micklehoof. But yeah, but I mean, like people don't get the hint or don't want to. Like, thank you.
I'll take a shower to see you guys. Promise. Yay!
I just don't understand it. How you cannot, especially in a public setting. Like, if you want to sit in your apartment or your house and smell by yourself and smell like 14 piles of feet.
Yeah.
Sure, that's your own prerogative. But if you're going to go out in public, be around other people for a long period of time, don't do that. Take a shower. Put some deodorant on. Call it a day. I will die on this hill.
Yeah. We are about to have to wrap it up. Success. What did you succeed at, MD? Has been painting a lot of black to start working on all the metal. Something I will say though is that you can't save. So Dorito smell. Yeah, imagine like Doritos and feet.
I mean, it's so much worse than Doritos, man.
Yeah, it's like a dog ate a crap and then farted its way out of the room.
Yeah.
Your apartment smells like 14 piles of feet. You might get the cops called on.
I mean, sure.
Psycho killer. Say.
But it's still, it's just one of those. It's just break the stereotype of nerds being stinky bastards, and don't be disgusting around other people.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's simple etiquette.
If you come around me smelling like you just put on some Sex Panther.
Hey, 60% of the time it works every time.
That's right.
I don't know. I think just Doritos smell like feet. That's fair. Fair
enough. Now, and hold on, we got to do just one more. Before we go, I didn't close Firebot down. Where is it?
And
So helium shower every day.
oh yeah, it's out of stock.
Huh. Oh well, it's fine. Do you want to close Firebot while connected to Twitch? Yes.
Yes, because I hate you.
I hate your face. I hate your stupid program robot face. Fine, everyday cheese.
Good.
Yeah. Moves the disc where your 1 in a million chance happens 99.99% of the time. It's bad. If you want, I'll run you a bubble
Ooh, bubble bath.
Oh, a bubble bath. I'm gonna go soak in the bubble bath and think about Drew Pinsky. Dr. Yeah, this Mechanic Games is streaming. Woo woo. Let's hop on. Alright. Twitter dashboard. Well, thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for the subs, the follows of Fiona. It was nice to meet you. I hope you come back. Thank you to everybody who contributed to the coffee. Appreciate that too. You guys are so judgy. Well, somebody has to, though. That's the thing. Everybody says, oh, I'm not here to judge. Well, somebody's got to.
We're actually here to be abusively.
Yeah. Forceful reinforcement. We put the force in reinforcement. Ooh, I like. Get you the little watercolor changing tabs. Toddlers like.
My daughter loves those.
Yeah, I'll say. I think. Oh, we had like the like water markers where my daughter could like paint on the walls of the bathtub and it just rinses off. Okay, no more stinky hue. All right, friends. We just don't want to stinky. All right, friends. We are going to raid on over into this Mechanic Paints. He is very, very close to affiliate. I always love hanging out in his streams. He is painting Drukhari. He is working on some Dark Eldar for Warhammer 40k for his younger brother. So let's raid on over there into him. Thank you everybody for being here. Hope you have a wonderful start to your week. We'll be back on Tuesday. And Echoes Within. Thank you for popping in. Let's go give him a raid, give him a follow, give this Mechanic Games or Paints some love, and I will catch you lab rats again on Tuesday.